Isometric and top-down RPGs are having a massive comeback, and the PS5 has some of the best the genre has ever seen. Today, we're counting down 16 must-play isometric RPGs, from action-heavy dungeon crawlers to deep tactical CRPGs and roguelike masterpieces. And real quick, most of you watching aren't subscribed, and subscribing genuinely helps me keep pushing high-quality recommendation videos like this regularly. All right, let's get into it. Ancient temples, deadly traps, and a god that wants you corrupted. Curse of the Dead Gods is a roguelike that mixes tight action combat with one of the smartest risk-reward systems in the genre. You explore cursed temples, where almost everything builds corruption, opening chests, lighting torches, even taking damage. Fill the curse meter and you're hit with permanent modifiers for that run. Some help you, many absolutely don't, forcing constant adaptation instead of safe play. Combat is deliberate and weighty. Dodging, parrying, stamina management, and positioning all matter. Darkness adds another layer of tension. Stay in the shadows and enemies hit harder, but light costs resources you might need later. Each temple has distinct enemies and bosses, and short runs make it perfect for quick sessions. Progression unlocks new weapons and relics, but skill matters more than grinding. If you want a roguelike that's harsher, smarter, and more punishing than Hades, this one hits hard. At first glance, this looks like a classic pixel art roguelike, but Children of Morta is really about family. Instead of playing a single hero, you control the Bergsons, an entire family fighting back against a spreading corruption. Each family member plays completely differently: a nimble archer, a fast assassin, a heavy brawler, a reckless mage, and switching between them keeps every run fresh. What's clever is that leveling one character benefits the whole family, encouraging you to rotate instead of sticking to a favorite. Between runs, the game slows down and lets the story breathe. You see quiet moments at home, conversations, worries, shared meals. These small scenes make the characters feel real, and suddenly the stakes feel personal, not just mechanical. Combat is smooth and satisfying, with dodge-heavy action and meaningful upgrades. The hand-drawn pixel art is beautiful, and co-op makes the chaos even more fun. If you want a roguelike with heart, story, and soul, Children of Morta stands out. This one drops you straight into neon chaos and never lets up. The Ascent is a cyberpunk twin-stick shooter RPG set inside a massive arcology after the ruling megacorporation suddenly collapses. The world building is the real star here. The city is a dense vertical sprawl of glowing streets, filthy industrial levels, and towering corporate districts stacked on top of each other. You can feel the class divide: wealth above, desperation below, told entirely through environments rather than exposition. Combat is fast, punchy, and more tactical than it first appears. You're constantly switching between aiming high and low, using cover, dodging fire, and layering abilities. Weapons range from standard firearms to wild experimental tech, and augmentations let you shape your build into a pure DPS monster or a more ability-focused setup. Boss fights crank things up with giant mechs, elite security units, and gang leaders that demand movement and awareness. You can play solo, but co-op makes the chaos even better. On PS5, the visuals absolutely pop. Neon lighting, dense crowds, holograms everywhere. If you love cyberpunk aesthetics mixed with satisfying action, this one hits hard. Power struggles, war, and impossible choices define this one. Triangle Strategy is Square Enix's modern take on classic tactical RPGs, mixing deep strategy with one of the most politically driven stories in the genre. Set on the continent of Norzelia, three nations clash over control of salt and iron, and you play as Serenoa Wolffort, a young noble pulled into brutal political maneuvering. Alliances shift, betrayals sting, and every major decision forces you to choose between morality, freedom, or pure practicality. What really sets the game apart is the conviction system.
Your choices don't just change dialogue, they shape the story, determine which paths open, and even decide which characters can join your army. There are multiple endings, and you will miss content on a single playthrough. Combat is classic grid-based tactics done right. Positioning, elevation, flanking, and elemental effects all matter. Knocking enemies off ledges or controlling choke points can completely turn battles. With a large cast of unique units, every fight feels like a puzzle. The HD 2D art style ties it all together beautifully, blending retro sprites with modern lighting. If you love slow-burn political stories and thoughtful tactical combat, this one is a must-play.
A fresh spin gave the series new energy. Darksiders Genesis reimagines the franchise as an isometric action game, and it works far better than you'd expect. Instead of one horseman, you play as two. War is all brute force melee, while Strife focuses on speed and ranged gunplay. You can swap between them instantly or play full co-op, and that contrast keeps combat fast and engaging. Levels are handcrafted rather than randomized, mixing combat arenas with light puzzles and platforming. Boss fights are a highlight too, built around clear mechanics instead of simple damage checks. Progression comes from the creature core system, where enemies drop cores that grant passive bonuses. Mixing these lets you shape your build without overwhelming complexity. What really stands out is the personality. Strife's sarcasm paired with War's seriousness makes the story genuinely fun, while expanding the lore around heaven, hell, and the Charred Council. For an isometric action game with strong co-op and character, Genesis is a great surprise.
Few RPGs dare to be this different. Disco Elysium: The Final Cut throws out combat entirely and focuses on dialogue, investigation, and the chaos inside your own mind. You wake up as a detective with total amnesia in a wrecked hotel room. There's a murder to solve, but first you need to figure out who you are and what kind of cop you're going to be. Every interaction is driven by skill checks, conversations, and internal debates rather than fighting. The skill system is the game's secret weapon. Logic, empathy, authority, inland empire. Each one represents a voice in your head, constantly commenting, arguing, and sometimes sabotaging you. Your thoughts literally talk back. The writing is phenomenal, letting you role-play anything from a brilliant investigator to a political extremist or total mess. With full voice acting, striking watercolor art, and heavy themes around ideology and identity, this is an RPG that challenges you intellectually, not mechanically.
For players who love deep, old-school RPGs, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is about as hardcore as it gets. The world is under siege as a demonic rift called the World Wound tears reality apart, and you're leading a crusade to stop it. What makes this special is the mythic path system. You don't just level up, you transform. Angel, demon, lich, trickster, and more. Each path massively reshapes your abilities, choices, companions, and even the story itself. Character building is insanely deep. Dozens of classes, archetypes, feats, spells, and multi-class options make this a dream for theory crafters. Builds matter here. Preparation, buffs, positioning, and crowd control decide fights, not button mashing. Combat uses real-time with pause, demanding careful planning, especially in brutal boss encounters. On top of that, you manage an entire crusade, resources, armies, and strategic decisions that affect the wider world. With well over 100 hours of content and huge replay value through different mythic paths, this is a CRPG made unapologetically for veterans who want maximum depth and complexity.
For fans of gritty, choice-driven RPGs, Wasteland 3 is one of the strongest post-apocalyptic experiences you can play on PS5. You're leading the Desert Rangers into frozen Colorado, cutting a deal with a ruthless leader known as the Patriarch. On paper, it's a simple mission. In reality, his children are tearing the region apart, and every decision you make pulls you deeper into moral gray zones where there's no clean outcome.
Combat is excellent turn-based tactics. Cover matters, positioning matters, and the environment is part of the fight. You're blowing up fuel tanks, shooting through cover, flanking enemies, and carefully managing action points. Building a squad with complementary skills is half the strategy. Where Wasteland 3 really shines is choice and consequence. Factions remember what you do, companions judge your actions, and helping one group almost always means hurting another. The writing leans hard into dark humor and satire, filled with cults, robots, and unhinged personalities. Add full campaign co-op, and this becomes a standout CRPG for anyone who loves Fallout-style storytelling with real tactical depth.
One of the smoothest action RPGs you can play on PS5, Diablo IV Eternal Collection still holds up incredibly well. This is the game that perfected the Diablo gameplay loop. You choose from 7 classes, each with a completely different feel. Heavy-hitting barbarians, spell-slinging wizards, fast and deadly demon hunters, lightning-quick monks, and more. Thanks to flexible skills and gear synergies, every class supports multiple builds, so experimentation is constantly rewarded. The loot loop is pure addiction. You're always chasing better gear, powerful legendary items, and set bonuses that completely transform how your character plays. Progression feels fast and satisfying, whether you're clearing hordes or pushing tougher difficulties. The Eternal Collection includes everything: Reaper of Souls, Adventure Mode, and the full endgame. Bounties, Nephilim Rifts, Greater Rifts, and seasonal characters provide endless reasons to keep coming back. Add 4-player co-op, and it becomes chaotic, flashy, and ridiculously fun. If you want a polished, endlessly replayable ARPG, Diablo III is still an easy recommendation.
One game completely changed how people looked at roguelikes: Hades. You play as Zagreus, the rebellious son of Hades, trying to escape the underworld over and over again. Every failure sends you back home, but that's the magic. Each run unlocks new dialogue, character moments, and story beats. The gods of Olympus, the residents of Hell, and even your own family constantly react to your progress, making death feel meaningful instead of punishing. Combat is fast, fluid, and endlessly satisfying. 6 core weapons each have multiple aspects that dramatically change how they play, and mid-run boons from gods like Zeus, Athena, and Artemis stack into insanely powerful synergies. No 2 runs ever feel the same. Progression is perfectly paced. Permanent upgrades, weapon unlocks, and story advancement ensure that even bad runs push you forward. Add the Pact of Punishment endgame system, which lets you customize difficulty for better rewards, and the replay value skyrockets. With incredible voice acting, a dynamic soundtrack, and unmatched polish, Hades is the rare roguelike that's easy to get into and impossible to put down.
Freedom is the word that defines Divinity Original Sin 2, and you feel it almost immediately. You're a sorcerer in a world where magic is forbidden, hunted for what you are. From the opening escape, the game makes it clear there's no single right path. You can choose one of 6 origin characters with fully written backstories, or create your own and shape the journey through your choices. Combat is where it really stands apart. Every fight is a tactical sandbox. You're not just attacking enemies, you're manipulating the environment. Electrify water, ignite poison, freeze blood, teleport enemies into hazards. Armor systems force smart targeting, turning every encounter into a strategy puzzle rather than a numbers game. What truly sets it apart is reactivity. You can solve quests through dialogue, stealth, trickery, or violence, and the world adapts. NPCs remember what you do, storylines branch, and even ridiculous solutions often work. Add optional 4-player co-op, where friends can make independent choices and even argue mid-quest, and you get one of the most flexible, player-driven RPGs ever made, a modern CRPG benchmark that still hasn't been surpassed.
Just outside the top tier since Unicorn Overlord, Vanillaware's stunning return to large-scale tactical fantasy.
You play as Prince Elaine, the exiled heir of Cornea, slowly rebuilding an army to reclaim 5 nations from the Zenwaran Empire. It's classic medieval fantasy, political intrigue, liberation wars, and unlikely heroes, but told with surprising care and momentum. Combat is where the game truly shines. Instead of turn-by-turn commands, you control squads in real time. Each unit is built from up to 5 characters placed in formations, with tanks up front and damage dealers or healers in the back. Before battle, you program AI behavior, things like targeting weakened enemies or defending under pressure, and then watch your strategy play out. The result feels incredibly satisfying. Wins come from preparation, not reflexes. Add Vanillaware's hand-painted 2D art, over 60 recruitable characters across different races, and a large non-linear world map, and it all comes together beautifully. For fans of deep strategy with strong presentation, this is one of the most refreshing tactical RPGs in years.
Stepping into the spotlight is Diablo IV, Blizzard's dark, gritty return to true Gothic ARPG roots. This time, Sanctuary feels hopeless and cruel. Lilith's return isn't just another demon threat, it's personal. The story leans hard into despair, sacrifice, and moral ambiguity, making the world feel grounded and unsettling rather than cartoonishly evil. Gameplay is classic Diablo, refined. 5 launch classes, Barbarian, Druid, Necromancer, Rogue, and Sorcerer all feel distinct, with deep skill trees and the Paragon board adding long-term build depth. Experimenting with legendary aspects and synergies is dangerously addictive. The open world is a huge upgrade. Sanctuary is seamless, atmospheric, and alive with events, world bosses, and shared encounters. Dungeons are moody and varied, while endgame systems like Nightmare Dungeons, Hell Tides, and Uber Bosses give hardcore players plenty to chase. Seasonal updates keep things fresh, and the Lord of Hatred expansion pushes the experience even further. If you love loot, dark fantasy, and endlessly refining builds, Diablo IV delivers the full package.
Stepping into classic CRPG territory, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is Obsidian at its absolute best. After the god Eothas awakens and destroys your stronghold, you're pulled into the Deadfire Archipelago, a sprawling ocean region shaped by piracy, politics, and clashing ideologies. The story is smart and mature, tackling colonialism, faith, and power with no easy answers. Combat sticks to real time with pause and feels deeply tactical. Positioning, spell timing, and crowd control matter, and the multi-class system lets you create wildly flexible builds with real personality. What truly sets Deadfire apart is exploration. You captain your own ship, manage a crew, engage in naval encounters, and explore dozens of islands, each with distinct cultures and conflicts. Strong companions, excellent writing, and meaningful faction choices make every decision feel heavy. If you love deep systems, rich storytelling, and old-school RPG design polished to modern standards, Deadfire delivers in full.
Stepping into grim-dark CRPG territory, Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader finally gives the 40K universe the RPG it deserves. Built by Owlcat Games, this takes their deep CRPG systems and wraps them in pure Warhammer brutality. You play as a rogue trader, one of the few with authority to explore beyond the Imperium. You command a massive void ship, lead an enormous crew, and make decisions that affect entire star systems. This isn't about saving villages, it's about power, responsibility, and consequences on a galactic scale. Combat is turn-based and tactical, with heavy emphasis on positioning, cover, and brutal abilities that fit 40K's unforgiving tone. Character builds run deep, with origins, classes, and synergies that really matter. The tone is spot-on grim-dark. Religious fanaticism, cosmic horror, and morally impossible choices define the experience. There are no good outcomes, only sacrifices. Companions elevate everything from a space marine to an Eldar ranger, each clashing in dialogue and decisions. Add in starship combat and system-wide exploration, and Rogue Trader stands as one of the most authentic Warhammer RPGs ever made.
Taking the top spot, Baldur's Gate 3 is the RPG that completely reset expectations. Larian Studios didn't just make a great game, they recreated the freedom and chaos of a real Dungeons & Dragons campaign. You're infected with a mind flayer parasite and racing against time, but how you deal with that threat is entirely up to you. Companions aren't side characters, they have secrets, ambitions, and can become allies, rivals, or something far more personal depending on your choices. What makes this special is the freedom. You can talk your way out of fights, manipulate environments, betray factions, or solve problems in ways the game genuinely anticipates. It feels like a dungeon master who never says no. Combat is deep, turn-based, and incredibly flexible. Positioning matters, spells interact creatively with the world, and encounters feel like tactical puzzles rather than stat checks. Character builds and multi-classing allow for wildly different playstyles. The writing is exceptional. Companions feel human, romances are earned, and side quests often rival main stories. With over 100 hours of reactive content and radically different outcomes across playthroughs, Baldur's Gate 3 isn't just the best isometric RPG on PS5, it's one of the greatest RPGs ever made.
And that's it. 16 of the best isometric and top-down RPGs on PS5. From Baldur's Gate 3 and Diablo IV to Hades and Unicorn Overlord, this genre is stacked right now. Which one's your favorite? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoy RPG recommendations like this, hit subscribe. Most viewers aren't, and I post these regularly. See you in the next one.